For me, cynicism is an impossible position which always in practice implies some secret belief. You know, the example I use of cynicism, I forgot, I write too many of them, as you kindly pointed out, my books, but I quote an example of sorry if I bore you with this, of a friend of mine to whom this really happened 10 years ago, the usual story. He was younger, he had a beautiful wife, and the usual story. The wife went to a doctor, haha, breast cancer, she died in 2-3 months. So what this guy then did is that he was able to talk absolutely peacefully about even the most painful moments of his wife dying, and we, his friend, thought, my God, is this guy cruel, brutal, how can he? Then we discovered, whenever, it's such a ridiculous story, but true, whenever he was talking about these painful moments, he was playing with a hamster. And hamster was the pet object of his wife. So hamster was his fetish. You know, fetish in the sense that what allowed him to maintain a distance, not to fully assume the fact that his wife is dead. You know, it was like rationally I accept it, but not really emotionally at the level of symbolic economy. Now you will say this is stupid, wild analysis. I wouldn't say so, because I have at least some kind of empirical proof that it's true. Half a year later, the hamster died. The guy serially tried suicide, immediately had to be hospitalized, and so on and so on. So what I'm saying is that, you know, when somebody tells me, ooh, I'm a cynic, who cares, you know, okay, where is your hamster, would be my question, no? And these hamsters have multiple forms today. Like, one of the most interesting big fat hamsters today is, I claim, Western Buddhism. You know, no wonder I read that among managers in the United States, the most popular spiritual attitude is some kind of Oriental wisdom. Why? Because they appear to be cynics, but they're really not. Deep in themselves, one way to manage it is to say, you know, reality is just a game of appearances and so on. My true self is not there, all that stuff. So again, I don't think people really are, to the end, cynical. I think it's an untenable position. Another thing that, I'm sorry I don't have time to develop it, to draw from here, is that what I like about Judeo-Christian tradition is that the experience of divinity or whatever always comes from the outside. It's not discovery of your inner truth. It's a traumatic encounter. In other words, the way I read, for example, this idea, love your neighbor, and all the Jewish iconoclasm, it's not that we cannot touch God because it's out there, we cannot represent. No, the point of Jewish iconoclasm, here I agree with Levinas, is that God is something to be practiced in how you treat your neighbors. God has nothing to do with your belief in transcendence and so on and so on. This is the meaning of iconoclasm for me. Not God is too mystical to be painted, but there is nothing to be painted. It's here, in the interaction. Here, I have problems with Oriental spirituality, so-called. Namely, sorry if I repeat my old stuff, but it's very educative to read it. For example, it shocked me a book called, I quote it often, written by a Zen Buddhist monk, Brian Victoria, Zen at War. Shocking discovery, for me at least, how the large majority, practically all of them, Japanese Zen Buddhists, around 10 million of them, I think, actively supported Japanese militarism, even more, provided ideological justification for it. For example, the one whom we read when I was young, hippie, Daisetsu Taro Suzuki, you know, all that stuff. You know, he wrote, for example, texts in the late 30s, early 40s, where he not only fully justified Japanese invasion of China, but he did something much more nasty, let's call it like this. He knew that the problem for ordinary people, us who have certain moral sensitivities, like maybe not you, but maybe even with you, like I would find it difficult to simply kill you now, to stab you. No, sorry, I'm too human. And he is aware of this problem. So this is really horrible. He mobilizes the entire Buddhist apparatus to enable ordinary soldiers to do the killing. He says something, I quote it pretty much the way he says it. He said, let's say we confront each other in a battle. If I'm still caught in the illusion of Maya, whatever, then I perceive myself as an agent, I kill you. But if I reach Buddhist enlightenment, I just become a kind of a purely empty, passive observer of my own acts. The hand is no longer, I am totally passive observer of a space in which my hand dances in space and somehow your body jumps on it, dancing, and so on. So again, he mobilizes all these to justify. Now, I'm not making fun of Suzuki here. I'm not saying he is Japanese militarist. He's very honest here. He even says this. We just didn't want to read it. He said, he said Buddhist meditation is a technique. You can be a fascist, communist, capitalist. It doesn't change anything. Again, the lesson for me, it's a difficult one, is that you can have all your inner authentic bullshit experience, enlightenment. You can still do horrible things in reality. Your inner truth is no guarantee of what you will do. Another example from Europe I like to evoke here is Reinhard Heydrich, you know, Holocaust, Heydrich. You know that in the evenings, whenever possible, he met with 3 other SS friends, and they were playing with what is arguably one of the high points of Western music, Beethoven's late string quartets. So, you know, I think it's too easy to say here, yeah, it must have been a fake. What if the truth is much more painful? What if he maybe did have some kind of, why not, it's horrible, authentic relationship to Beethoven, spiritual, and nonetheless was planning the Holocaust and so on. I talk too much, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, and help me.
Thank you. We survived this, okay.
Thank you for coming.